Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to Shiva Texan Limited Q2 and H1 FY22 earnings conference call. This conference call may contain forward-looking statements about the company, which are based on the beliefs, opinions, and expectations of the company as on date of this call. These statements are not guarantees of future performance and involve risks and uncertainties that are difficult to predict. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Dr. S.K. Sundararaman, Managing Director, Shiva Texan Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I would like to wish you all a very warm welcome to Shiva Texan Limited's earnings conference call for the second quarter and the half year ended 30th September 2021. Let me first express my gratitude to all of you for taking the time to join us today. On the call with me today are Mr. Krishna Kumar, our CFO, and Brij Iyer, our Investor Relations team. Since this is only our second earnings conference call, I would like to share some brief insights and recent developments about our company before we get into the business and financial performance for the year. Let me start with a few key developments in the recent past. As you are all well aware, the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic continued to be felt during the initial month of this fiscal year as well. The second wave of the pandemic was very strong and wreaked havoc across several states, including Tamil Nadu, which witnessed lockdowns during a substantial part of the first quarter. Production and logistics across various industries, including ours, suffered during this period, and subsequently, operations at our units were reopened in a staggered manner. However, with many markets reopening, the scenario is better and improving significantly, and this half year has definitely been better than the corresponding period last year, which was more severely hampered by the lockdown of 2020. The year-on-year went from a recovery for all markets and the company's resilience and the maturity of its products. As you all know, we were at the forefront of the initial thrust against the pandemic by supplying CITRA certified PPE protective coveralls to the government. And then we added on to this range with face masks at the N95 grade, also with antiviral fabrics and other specialized innovations that the company brought into the market. These products continue to serve the market, and they have established a name for the company among general consumers and healthcare professionals right across the entire spectrum. The most important aspect of the last half year's performance has been the continued uptick in the spinning industry, Indian spinning industry. The Indian spinning industry has seen an unprecedented hike in cotton prices, which coupled with a supply-demand gap has created an enormous amount of opportunity for the spinning industry right through the last 3 quarters. This increased demand is also an outcome of the banning of cotton in the Xinjiang province in China and other global factors, which have resulted in robust results from the spinning industry in general. And your company, being one of the leaders in technical textiles, has actually, leading in the spinning industry, has actually capitalized on the positive notes of the spinning industry. The lamination division, which is the parent division for our quick dry range of products, has also bounced back after the first quarter and has done exceedingly well in terms of market performance in the second quarter. The future of this division also looks higher as consumer demand continues to surge. An important aspect of our portfolio is the products we supply to the Indian Army. In the end of the last financial year, we had won 2 orders from the Ministry of Defence, one for a 70-liter rucksack bag and the other for haversack bags of the CBRN variety. This was worth 13.62 crores and 27.28 crores respectively. The first order has already been executed successfully, and The second order is being executed and will be over by the third quarter of this year. We are grateful that the Indian Armed Forces trust us for our highest standards and execution capabilities, and we have been agile enough to deliver the requirement on time. Our association with the Defense Supply Forces has been a very long-standing one, wherein we have been their first choice of supplier for NBC suits, etc. in the past. While orders to the defense come on a tender basis, this has been a dedicated line of business for us since 2017, and our varied range of products ensures that there is an ongoing project with the defense at all times. On another note, the coating division continues to be optimistic in its growth, considering the bans imposed on the use of flex materials for banners and signage applications in the state of Kerala. The COVID situation did have an impact on this business, but now we are seeing a bounce back in the demand for such products in the months and time period to come. Overall, I would say the existing segments of the business continue to do extremely well. In this year, we have also added a highly technical insulation wadding business, which is a non-woven product, which is key to our thought process of becoming a leading player in the high-altitude clothing and high-altitude clothing accessories product range, which is required by the Indian Army in huge quantities. We are also looking at entering into significant growth in new areas like seamless garments, in which some amount of capacity has been already put in place and will be commissioned in the fourth quarter as a test case to further scale up in subsequent months. Overall, it has been a balanced and sustainable growth in our technical textiles business, supported by a very robust spinning industry. And as the impact of the pandemic subsides and logistics and markets open up, we expect a sustained growth in the industry. Coming to a brief background about the company, ever since. We were at 90,000 spindles at one point of time, and post the demerger, we are currently at 52,000 spindles of spinning capacity. And spinning has been a traditional business. Our strategic focus is in the area of technical textiles, where we have based on technology.
This is the operator, sir. Sorry to interrupt you. The audio is breaking from your line, sir. This is the operator, so we are not able to hear you. Ladies and gentlemen, request you all to please stay connected while we check the line for Dr. S.K. Sundararaman. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for patiently waiting. The line for Dr. S.K. Sundararaman, sir, has connected. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Right. Friends, I'm sorry for that disconnect. It was unexpected. Let me just talk about a brief background of the company. We started our first spinning mills unit in 1989, and we have grown steadily ever since. The spinning business expanded to about 90,000 spindles at peak capacity, and post our demerger, we're currently at 52,000 spindles spinning capacity. While spinning has been our traditional business, the strategic focus is in the area of technical textile, where we have built a range of products based on technology and innovation. In 2006, we started the lamination division, and over the subsequent years, we have commenced garments, processing, coating, and related activities, each one specializing in certain technologies for high-end products which are all based on research and innovation. We also backed up the spinning division and other power consumers by several windmills, which generate clean, renewable energy for captive use. Today, our product portfolio is a mix of various products which cater to a diverse range of applications for whole textiles, health and child care, defense, apparel accessories, and so on and so forth. Our diversified product portfolio reflects our vision to be a leader in the technical textiles industry, driven by innovation. We have multiple brands that are in the market, including Quick Dry, which is a product segment creator in its area, Quick Fit, Q Club, Pawpaw, among others. The company has also taken up to doing significant amount of business on online and digital front, and in keeping with the preference of the global consumers. Our technical capabilities and know-how, coupled with our consumer-centric approach, enable us to innovate new products, and we innovate with an emphasis on sustainability and being environmentally friendly. Now, turning to our financial performance, the second quarter, Q2 FY22, we reported 114.27 crore in revenues during Q2 FY22, a 37.11% year-on-year rise. Growth was driven primarily by a recovery in the markets post the COVID-related lockdowns and a robust spinning industry. Our EBITDA for the quarter stands at 18.07 crores, increasing 65.67% year-on-year. The EBITDA margin is 15.81%, an improvement of 273 BPS. Improved internal operating efficiencies offset the volatility in raw material prices, boosting margins. Our net profit during this quarter is 8.28 crores as against rupees 2.23 crores in the second quarter of FY21. The net profit margin stood at 7.24%, up by 457 BPS. The EPS for this quarter is rupees 6.34. For the half year, we have reported rupees 200.01 crore in revenues, a 48.54% year-on-year rise. Growth was driven primarily by a recovery in spinning business and overall market conditions post the COVID-related lockdowns. Our EBITDA for this period stands at 31.45 crores, increasing 58.25% year-on-year. The EBITDA margin is 15.72%, an improvement of 96 BPS. Better internal operating efficiencies helped offset the impact of raw material prices, leading to better margins. Our net profit during these 6 months is rupees 13.32 crores as against 3.18 crore in the corresponding period of FY21. The net profit margin stood at 6.66%, up by 430 BPS. The EPS for this period is rupees 10.08. Thank you. That's all from our side, and now we are open to take questions.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. The first question is from the line of Zaki Nasir, individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, Mr.
Yes. Mr. Sundararajan, congrats on a very, very strong set of quarterly numbers. Sir, but as you mentioned yourself, this has been an unprecedented time in spinning, and I think even now a large part of our turnover comes from spinning. So how do you expect the cycle to pan out in the future, sir? And I mean, how would this affect? I mean, at the end of the year, what would you expect Shiva's spinning versus technical textile contributions to be? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nagar. So you were absolutely spot on. In the previous year, the spinning versus non-spinning ratio was almost about 60 to 40, 40% being non-spinning, and spinning being over 60%. The current numbers are the spinning is about 75% and the non-spinning is about 25%. that's essentially the non-spinning has not decreased in terms of numbers. In terms of coating and processing, we continue to do what we did last year. In terms of garments for military and lamination, I would say we have actually grown to the tune of almost about 20%. But the fact that the spinning is extremely robust is showing that it's having a higher percentage of contribution to the overall turnover of the company. I expect that this will be the case right through this entire year. So even the full year results would be like that. I mean, while generally spinning industry wouldn't venture to give a prediction for 6 months, I would say the industry seems to be stable and robust. So while we are expecting something like a 20% increase in 20 to 25% increase at a annualized level on our non-technical textile business in pure numbers, in terms of percentage terms, it's going to be lower contribution by non-spinning sector for this year, just because the spinning has become incredibly robust. Going forward, as I had mentioned in previous occasions, we are looking at not less than a 55% contribution on technical textiles or non-spinning segment to our revenues. For that to happen, a certain amount of capacity augmentation also has to happen, as well as looking at some new areas of opportunities, which is what we are currently doing at this point of time. So all investments that we're doing, which we have done in this year, have actually gone into the non-spinning sector. I hope it answers your question.
Yes, sir. And see, as you mentioned, you expect the spinning to remain robust for the balance of the year. Would you also venture out to say that the margins also will be sustained during the next 2 quarters, sir?
I would. I can broadly say that it seems to be that way for the third quarter, but the fourth quarter is anybody's guess, honestly. Now there are slightly there are signs of the cotton sentiments weakening, which will have impact on yarn. But overall, supply and demand still continues to be a challenge. So things will be good. The third quarter very similar to previous, but the fourth quarter I wouldn't have it a guess at this stage, honestly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, and best wishes for the company. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kush Gangar from Care Portfolio Managers. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. I wanted to know the contribution of defense orders in Q2.
Defense orders in Q2. Krishna Kumar, would you like to take that question or?
Yes, sir. Actually, the defense order in the Q1 is 8 crore rupees and the Q2 is nil, sir. Actually, production was happen. Only this execution billing will happen only in third quarter.
So Q2 contribution for defense is 0.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, from numbers basis, I would say it's 0. What happens is that the typical time it takes for you to say that the product is ready, and for the CBR, and then because these are CBR and products, for the testing to go through various labs before they give you dispatch instruction is about 45 days. So we are expecting that the bulk of this product, both what's manufactured in Q2 as well as Q3, would go out in Q3, or maybe a little bit will go in Q4.
Sure.
Yeah.
So full 27 crores, the pending order impact should come in Q3, right, sir?
No, out of you are right. No, 27 crores out of 27 crores, I would say at least about 20 crores would come in Q3. 7 crores might go into Q4.
Okay. And sir, can you share some details of tenders which you have bid for the defense sectors over the last 2-3 quarters, and the results where you are awaiting the results?
We have bid for close to about 150 crores worth of tenders for various items that predominantly are in the SCME space, that is the high altitude mountain clothing space. The Indian Army has got tenders out for a 5-year period. It's the first time that they're experimenting with it. It comes with the caveat that the product has to pass field trials. So all those who have bid for those, the field trials are going on, and we will know the results by March, April. I'd also like to bring to your attention that in addition to new tenders, there is always a scope for a 50% repeat order clause for products already executed. And so that also seems to be in the pipeline. So our defense pipeline seems to be quite robust. Even if you're looking at a 1/3 success rate on tenders bid, we should have something north of 50 crores in terms of defense business for the next year. It's confirmed.
Okay, okay. And so this 150 crore tenders would be various different tenders, or it is a single tender?
Different tenders.
Different tenders, okay. But most of them for high altitude range only.
That's right.
And sir, the 50% repeat order which you are expected or is in pipeline is the NBC suits that we delivered. Are you referring to that?
No, it's the Haversack, NBC Haversack, that the 27 crore order that's going on, as well as the previous 70-liter rucksack order.
Okay, okay, okay. Sure. That is helpful. And sir, if you can share some details, you mentioned, but your voice was breaking regarding the capex for the processing division. If you can share some details, you mentioned it would start in Q4, I guess, the 20 crore capex that we are undertaking. Can you share some details with regard to the segment? How would the funding be done? Asset terms? Any details over there?
Yeah. What we have done through this year is we have invested in two areas. One is we've invested a very strategic investment in making high insulation batting for winter clothing, which is a key component in trying to compete with for tenders in the defense space. So that's a smaller investment. Keeping that apart, we have placed orders for buildings and equipment to the tune of close to 18 crores. And the equipment is in various stages of arriving at the factory, and commissioning will happen between February and March of Q4. Most of this investment has gone into creating very specialized athleisure fabrics, as well as some forays have been made into creating seamless garments. We believe that functional textiles are the way to go forward, where we can look at large level of scale-up, and where there are some amount of complementary nature to the products that we are already making for sports towels and for the defense applications and so on and so forth. So hence, this 18 crores is going into the what I would call athleisure segment, significant portion into seamless garments. The concept is that given that the PLI scheme has been announced for man-made fibers and technical textiles, and given that there are several incentives coming out, we are trying to understand where we would like to do a larger investment over the next 24 months. And this 18 crores has been put towards that. This money has come purely from internal accruals because the cash flow for this year has been good. So in addition to our principal term loan repayment, we have actually done this entire investment through internal accruals.
Okay, okay. And sir, you mentioned about the athleisure segment, etc. So it would be so our focus is towards B2C or B2B. We'll be looking at B2B or B2C. And so this is a trial where you are testing a few segments, right? So when do you expect some kind of material contribution going forward from this segment? Because it is a new segment, it may take time. So what is your assessment currently?
Well, firstly, in terms of going forward, we find the segment quite interesting, and we don't want to, for various reasons, name customers, but we almost have a 100% assured takeoff of the entire investment that has been made into this 18 crores. So we have customers who are looking at giving us the 4 to 5 month contracts from the time we start. So essentially, they will start bearing fruits right from April of 2022. It was quite a promising thing that customers are ready to underwrite. I think that is the potential of this particular segment, and which is what prompted us to go here. To answer your question on B2B or B2C, looking at B2B only, because at this point of time, and definitely over the next few years, our focus would be to become the largest player in this segment. And that would essentially be about working with other established brands than trying to create a direct customer foray ourselves, a consumer foray ourselves.
Right. And so what can be the contribution at 100% utilization revenue?
It would probably in the range of, this investment would probably be in the range of about a 24 crore turnover at the top line level on an annualized basis. But I would say it's too early for us to actually comment more on this topic.
Sure. And sir, with respect to the jump in other expenses, the other expenses have increased significantly. What has been the primary reason for that rise?
Krishna Kumar, can you take that?
This other expenses is including manufacturing expenses for other manufacturing expense. Last quarter, we already mentioned that defense production. No? This Haversac production was happened, almost 10 crores finished stock. That is the reason for increase in other expenses. It is not purely other fixed expense. It is a variable component for consumption of packing material and non-raw material items, chemicals like that. To the extent the finished goods stock has increased.
Okay. And sir, with respect to the spinning side, there would be some element of low-cost inventory which would have helped us in improving our margin. Do we have the inventory for current Q3 partly? Do we have that inventory, or the new inventory would be at higher cost? So should our margins drop from the Q2 levels going ahead? Because the current season cotton prices are significantly higher.
I know, but actually even in Q2, Shivatex has not been having this habit of having long inventory. We have actually done this performance irrespective of the fact that we only hold about 50 to 55 days stock at maximum, and at many times as low as 35 days. The results have come because there has been a mix of high-value items in terms of organic and free trade and other sustainable yarns, which we supply to specific customers, which give a better yield compared to conventional products. So, with the same logic, I can say that the impact would not be much in Q3. Q3 wouldn't be much different, or rather the impact of not being able to hold stocks long or inventory long would not impact us as a company.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Junisha Sheda from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Am I audible?
Good afternoon. Yes, please.
Yeah. So basically, I just wanted to understand a long-term perspective, 3 to 5 years. What is, as you have mentioned, that 55% of revenue will come from non-spinning business and 45% will be from the spinning business. So can you give us a ballpark breakup of what are the growth estimates for each of the segment and how the margins would move?
Right. Sometimes giving a 5-year estimate, it's very, very long call. But I can give you what we're looking at over the next 3 years as an indication of where the company is moving. We are approximately a 280 in terms of spinning in normal times. I expect that this year we will definitely cross that because of the vibrant yarn prices that we are seeing. So even if you take 300 crores as a ballpark in terms of spinning turnover on a long-term basis, assuming that there is no capacity expansion over here, our technical textile units, which are basically lamination, the garmenting division, the coating division, do approximately about 150 crores of turnover at this point of time. Now, our capacity expansion, capacity program over the next 24 months should take us to an additional 160 crores of revenues on a conservative basis by the end of next 24 months. We expect in that time the conventional business of lamination, coating, military would also grow from this 150 crores that we are having right now to be about a 200 crore area. So in total, in anywhere between a 24 months, probably more realistically a 30 months, 36 months time period, we would look at an annualized revenue for the company of around 650 crores, of which not less than 350 crores would come from non-spinning business. And those capex plans are on. Like I said, the initial testing has happened. We expect the major rollout to start from about July of this year, of 2022. And that's where we are headed over the next 3 years.
Okay. And on the margin front, what is the breakup currently and how it is likely to shape up on the segmental basis?
That on a segmental basis, I think that's a very detailed answer, which will probably you on a different thing. But what we expect is that given that most of the overheads would be consumed and the growth is going to be in technical textile division, we expect that the EBITDA percentage would improve anywhere from a 4 to 8% from where we are right now.
Okay. And in the technical textile front, like you said, that there is one specific order for seamless garments which you just mentioned. Other than that, what are the key growth drivers in the technical textile side, other than the Army division and the seamless division which you just mentioned?
The oldest technical textile division, which is also a B2C product for the company, is our laminated products division, which is for the flagship, which is baby incontinence mat called Quick Dry. Now, that business was approximately 40 crores from a year-on-year basis till 2020. It suffered a dip because of market closures in 2021. And while the first quarter of this year was bad because of lockdowns, there was a very strong bounce back in Q2. And we expect that we will probably do about a 20% growth even on our 1920 figures. So that the growth in that business is quite robust, and we expect that we will be able to give a 20-25% year-on-year growth in that area. The coating business of the company, which essentially focuses on artist canvas and digital canvas, that's what we've been doing for many years, is supplemented by a business opportunity which we thought was very exciting, which is replacement of flex banners by biodegradable cotton banners, which is being implemented by under order of the court and some governments, state governments, most notably in the state of Kerala. Now that division is a little subdued during COVID because there's not much of demand for advertising. I'm talking about physical print on the highways kind of advertising. But we expect that will also change once the current sentiments of people change and that everybody feels they're coming post-corona. The Army is a specialized division that continues to grow. We have expanded our product offerings beyond the conventional NVC and the bag we used to do to having now supplied for trial basis the cold weather clothing, the sleeping bag, the gloves, and a few other related products to the Army. We are also in the process of sourcing technology in Army-related areas from associates from overseas. And overall, we think that we will continue to be one of the strong technical textile suppliers to the Indian Army and as well as the other smaller forces for many years to come. So that's broadly how our portfolio is geared. And the new addition of seamless garments would be a new area where we'll be getting into.
Okay. Just last couple of questions. So for the replacement of banner business in Kerala, do you have any orders in hand right now?
It happens on a continuous basis. We used to supply close to about 1.1 crore worth of material into various distributors into Kerala. Currently, it's down to about 30 to 40 lakhs, like I said, subdued during COVID. But we do continue to supply on a month-on-month basis.
Okay. And what will be the current order in hand overall?
In which division?
In the Army and mainly in the Army division?
In the Army, we have, like I was explaining to a previous gentleman, the Army, we have got a 27 crore order for the ruck track is being executed, which should close by third quarter, probably even further. And we expect repeat orders coming in by the fourth quarter, as well as the results of some of the other tenders coming inside. It's a test-based business which is very time-bound, so you don't have long order pipelines for the Army. You might get a 50 crore order, but you have to execute it within 6 months. But since we are working with them across a range of products, we are very comfortable that there won't be much gap in the production process and we'll take it on.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vipul Shah from Shubh Mangal Investment. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, sir. Congratulations for good set of numbers. My first question is, sir, due to high cotton prices, was there any inventory gain in the last quarter? And if that is yes, can you quantify it, sir?
Like I was explaining earlier, there was Shivatex as a policy does not hold inventory for more than 40 days. Sometimes it goes up to 50, I think, but we try not to hold. It used to be a habit that mills like us would hold long inventories for up to 6 months from end of February till October. But in current circumstances, we don't hold inventory. So whatever gains that you're seeing or whatever results you're seeing are based upon normal inventory. Our current inventory continues to be at the same levels, and we probably prioritize young businesses like yarn, etc.
And secondly, sir, can you comment on the margins in the defense business? Are they higher than the all other businesses?
I would definitely say so. The margins in general in the defense business, I wouldn't like to generalize. There are some but in general, the margins are definitely higher. Definitely, I would say EBITDA of 25% to 28% of the norms in those businesses. But that is, I wouldn't like to generalize that.
Okay. And lastly, sir, what is our R&D spend annually?
Our R&D spend annually would be somewhere about 2 to 3 crores, but it is difficult to differentiate it per se as R&D spend because the R&D does not happen in an external lab. It happens online, so most of it goes into people costs, into consulting costs, into getting materials, but we do not show that as a separate thing. So it's an ongoing program, and many of the R&D initiatives are taken up by people who are actually the line managers in those respective businesses.
And so lastly, you said you expect 650 crores of turnover over 36 months. So to reach there, what kind of cumulative capex will be incurring?
We are looking at a capex of about 100 to 110 crores that will happen over the next 24 months. And which is why I said by the time we are talking about from 24 months to 36 months onwards, we are looking at a turnover of about 650 crores for the company.
And all that 100 crores will be generated internally. We will not take any more tax.
No, portion of it would be generated internally. We are still working out the program. What has already been invested in the last 1 year in terms of that 18 crores has been generated internally.
Okay, sir. All the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Aniket Redkar, individual investor. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I have a couple of questions. Sir, can you throw some light on Quick Dry and Pawpaw in terms of the revenue, EBITDA margin, and the profit margin?
In terms of revenues, like I said, the first quarter was very bad. And I'm talking about Quick Dry and Pawpaw as a whole because that's we look at it as one segment, as a dairy product segment, and it goes out through the same marketing channels. And so Q1 was bad. Q2 is good. So on a month-on-month basis, in Q2, we are getting a revenue of about purely on modern trade and general trade without any of some of the specialized exports and other things we do. We are getting a run rate of about 4.5 crores on a monthly basis. So if I extrapolate that on a 12-month basis, I'm looking at a comfortable 20 to 25% growth. If I were to look at 19-20 figures as fully a figure. Last year was a complete washout. Not really complete washout, but not a comparable number. So if we have to compare 19-20, then 21-22 would be at least a 25% growth. If I were to extrapolate it on a year-on-year basis, it might be lower because the Q1 was bad. But in terms of revenue, margins, compare EBITDA margins would be in the range of 13 to 14%.
Okay. Okay. So, as we see, overall, all the manufacturing companies are facing the raw material prices. So, there is increase in the raw material prices also. So, what are the measures being taken to control such a raw material prices? And are we passing this raw material price hike to end consumer?
Well, to answer your question, that we operate in multiple baskets. So if I were to talk about spinning, you are aware that there's a bit of hue and cry in the market about yarn prices going up. So we have to pass on the cost of raw material onto the end consumers. But on our B2C business, which is our quick dry and pop-up business, we have not actually significantly. There are some hikes that we have done, more from a product refreshment strategy perspective, but we have not really looked at passing on raw material costs. At this point of time, we look at it as an advantage of growth in market share than anything else. So we have not, at this point, passed on raw material cost to the market, but what happens in the future remains to be seen. In some of the other businesses which are B2B, like coating, etc., we have passed it on. For example, you don't have an option of passing on any material cost, which is why we actually work on a system of buying, procuring almost all the raw material for the entire 6-month production process in one go, just to mitigate any such risks. And we just make sure we have enough adequate capital to do so. It's a mix and match depending on the particular product segment that we touch.
Okay. Got it, sir. Right. Sir, how we see the revenue from PP kits and the masks as we see the mask economy is recovering from this pandemic? And what are your views on this product line? I mean,
the PPE opportunity was something that was captured. That was, what should I say? That was used to an advantage by us last year when there was no other business happening. So we had a robust PPE business that happened during the first 3 quarters, probably even the fourth quarter of last year, both in terms of our coveralls as well as our masks. But today, as the pandemic continues to sort of go down, the appetite for companies or hospitals and the healthcare sector to pick up PPE of the level 4 quality is coming down. People are accepting a level 2, level 3 tier products which they think is enough to protect them against the virus. In the area of masks, multiple manufacturers have come out, and there is a growing propensity towards decoratives than performance masks. Performance masks, of course, continue to be in the healthcare industry, but a huge amount of capex went into building capacity right across the country by people in creating N95 masks. So for me, this area is very crowded right now, and it's not a long-term play for Shiva Texan because we like to be in areas where there's a technology barrier for other people to play in our respective areas. So while we continue to be here and we have had a lot of learning, good results, and a good amount of exposure to the market in terms of brand visibility as a company, I don't think this is going to be a long-term game for Shiva Texan unless something new really comes in.
Thank you. Mr. Redkar, may we request that you return to the question queue for follow-up questions. Thank you. The next question is from the line of Gaurav from Sarat Capital Management. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir, for giving us an opportunity, and congratulations on a very good set of numbers. So just wanted to get a broad sense of, first of all, since you demerged a part of your spinning business a couple of years back, there are no plans to add any spinning capacities given the favorable, situation we've had recently, right?
Yes, Mr. Gaurav. The spinning industry is going through an unprecedented uptick. But having been in the industry for the last 30 years, we do not see, unless there is going to be a technology evolution in spinning, for example, vortex for cotton, etc., which would necessitate investment and which would probably also have some sense of meaning of having a competitive edge for some time. Investing in spinning is not on the cards as far as we are concerned. There are a lot more growth opportunities in technical textiles and related areas for us.
Okay. Now, coming on to your technical textile side of the things, like you said, out of the 650 crores that you're going to be doing in the next 36 months, 350 crores would come out of your technical textiles, right? So 350 crores, what percentage of that do you assume that would be the B2C side, and what percentage would be the B2B side?
Well, in that, I would say about 100 crores would be maximum from a B2B side. That is, B2C side, which will essentially be based upon our quick dry business, which will also have some amount of the other product ranges that will be pushed through the sales channels, but not more than 100 crores. 200 crores, maybe even little higher. 210 crores approximately would come from the B2B segment.
And why are the, like you said, you could be doing an annualized 50 crores on your quick dry business this year. And since this is a B2C business, why are margins at 13 to 14%? Why aren't they higher than, because that's the broad range that you're doing consolidated as an entity?
No, true, but I was just answering one of your previous threads was asking about, the price increase being passed on, etc., etc. Today, we are trying to consolidate penetration into markets, and one of the tools for that is to not increase prices. Post-COVID, most smaller manufacturers have had to go through they have been forced to upward revise their prices because the raw material sourcing and other operating efficiencies actually were being really pressurized. So we are at this point strategically keeping at this level just to make sure that we have better penetration and push. And at some point in the future, in conjunction with what I would say a more deeper brand penetration, we would definitely look at taking this EBITDA margin close to about 18%.
But are there like-to-like players in this segment? Or since you said you want to be in areas where there are technological barriers, so anyone else doing this diapers and quick dry sheets?
There are, but there is nobody larger than us. I would say the bigger challenge for a company like Shivatex Quick Dry division is from other baby products manufacturers who are in the clothing sector, who also buy out dry sheets as one of their product ranges. They have the size and the distribution network to challenge what we do. We continue to dominate the reusable incontinence segment in this market. So they are coming here, and we are actually seeing how we can go a little bit into their territory and but so they are the challenge. Pure play standalone diaper manufacturers, or reusable diaper manufacturers or laminate manufacturers are not a challenge for us.
Okay. And this last bit is this 210 crores that you said would come from the B2B side. How big an opportunity is that? Do you see yourself being a pure play at some point in time when this technical textile side of things becomes large enough? Would you consider demerging it and making your company entirely technical textile player? And what is the opportunity landscape there? Where can you see yourself in 5 to 10 years is the broad question.
Right. In what we do today, in our conventional business, not conventional, our non-spinning business that we rotate, be it lamination, coating, or writing. We are expecting conservatively over the next 24 months, conservatively, to take that up to about 200 crores, like I told you. And we see that actually going into 2x or 3x of that over a period of time, over the next 5, 6, 7 years, whatever. The new area we are entering into, one of the processes, the thought process of the company is that we are looking for areas which are niche, where we have to be either the first or we have to be among the top 3 players in that segment. Otherwise, we feel that there's absolutely no play in that area. We see seamless as an area developing right now. Like I was saying, that our 18 crores of capacity put in has already been underwritten by customers even before production started for about 4 to 5 months from the time the time production starts. We see a great uptick here. We want to be part of that wave. We think that there's a lot of value add, and we see that as a huge segment, that is going to run into thousands of crores, both within the country as well as for the export market. So the whole thought process is to identify areas where there's nobody else, some amount of technology barrier exists, and then be among the top 3 in that area. And that's our focus. That's why we are going. Whether we would demerge from spinning at some point, possibly yes, but that's in the future.
So this 18 crore is in what category of technical textiles?
The 18 crores is purely in the seamless and athleisure garment space. Okay. I would say it is like, it goes from the technical textile aspect more into functional garments, but we are still grouping it as technical textiles from the company.
These are like one of those quick dry vests that sporting brands sell, right, sir? Something like that.
The seamless garments are garments that do not have any stitches. So it can be something as simple as innerwear lingerie to complex suits that go from neck to ankle in a series of applications.
And this business that you're promised by your customers, this is domestic or this is exports?
I wouldn't like to comment at this point of time.
Okay. No issues, sir. Thank you so much for answering my questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will take one last question from the line of Anshul Mittal from Care Portfolio Managers. Please go ahead.
Hello. Yes, sir. So I just wanted to ask that since last few years, our payout has been fairly good within payout policy. So considering the capex plan that we have for 100 to 150 crores for next 2 years, so are we planning to continue the same?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't get your question.
Our dividend payout policy since last few years. Hello?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Mittal. Your audio is breaking from your line, so please use the handset mode.
Oh, sure. Hello? Am I audible now?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I just wanted to know that since last few years, our dividend payout policy has been fairly good. Suppose the capex which we have of 100 to 150 crores, so are we planning to maintain the same going forward?
In all probability, yes. I would not like to take a board decision that we cannot that I wouldn't like to comment upon. But I don't think there is going to be any change to the dividend payout policy, at least for the next 2-3 years. Nothing is envisaged at this point of time.
Okay, thank you. That's great. And the second, I wanted to know the value and volume growth breakup for the quarter. This quarter.
Can you be a little more specific on that?
So there's a volume and value growth breakup between the growth which we have seen this quarter. So has it been more mainly towards pricing or towards the volume side?
I would say there has been a good amount based upon pricing. Like I said, the spinning has been the driver for this quarter in terms of our top line. And that driver is also, while there has been definitely a growth from the previous quarter, pricing has also definitely played a part.
Okay. That's great, sir. And so what is the current status of yarn pricing, sir? So as you said, the cotton yarn prices have risen in last 1 or 2 months. So probably what is the status for yarn pricing? Do you have any estimate for next 45 days or quarter three, so we can understand what is the basically growth, pricing growth which we can expect going forward.
The prices for yarn, cotton yarn, had picked up in the month of October. The results of the Q2 are not impacted by that. We have seen prices going to a historical high in terms of Shankar 6 cotton to about 72,000 rupees a candy. That's coming down now. It's about 67,000 today. With increased arrivals into the market, we expect that the cotton prices will be definitely muted. And as also yarn prices will come down. But I'm comparing these to the month of October. If I were to say, look at the previous quarter, I would say you would look at very comparable figures of Q3 to Q2. Cotton is something where we do not generally give a long-term outlook. So Q4, while I am sure that the industry will continue to be stable given supply advantages, what's happening, favorable supply demand equation. In terms of really hard prices, I don't know. I think we have reached the peak, but I could be mistaken.
Okay, understood, sir. And sir, one more thing was, as we have seen rise in other expenses recently, so I just wanted to understand the power and fuel costs. So while we are planning to set up windmill as well as other renewable facilities, so do we expect a reduction in power and fuel cost in near term?
We will not have a reduction in cost. I would say it's more towards maintenance. If you see in the recent couple of months, we buy power from three places. We buy power from the electricity grid. We consume power from our own windmill generation, which is approximately, it used to be approximately 60 to 70% of our total power requirement. And the balance we used to take from the third-party power exchanges. Since we retired some of our windmills last year, and since we are actually having a spike in third-party power prices, particularly because of this coal shortage issues, the company has decided that we will also have now enter into an agreement with LK Distributors, a related company, to pick up their windmill power, which is about 50 lakh units, on favorable terms. So the outcome of all that is your power cost would be the same. It would not go up. That is the strategy which we are following. We have already had what I would say one of the lowest power costs in the spinning industry, given the fact that we've invested a lot in windmills. So we expect that we would continue the same.
Okay, understood, sir. Thank you. That's it from my end.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question. I would now like to hand the conference over to Dr. S.K. Sundararaman for closing comments. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Firstly, I thank the entire team of Shiva Texan for their untiring efforts and the hard work and dedication. I thank my CFO, Mr. Krishna Kumar, who's on the call, and team from Bridge IR. Friends, it is the people who drive the company forward and make it resilient to upheavals such as this pandemic, and we have some wonderful people working for us who would be the drivers of the growth for tomorrow. I thank all of them, and I also thank and appreciate all of you for participating in the conference call. Please do get in touch with our investor relations team if you have any further questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Shiva Texan Limited, that concludes this conference call. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.